Spoilers, of course. So, just got done watching the BattleBots season finale here. Recording this about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, so a good hour before it broadcasts live on Discovery. What can I say, gentlemen? I have a Discovery Plus account. I'm like one of 6 people on Earth that still has it. It's mostly just used for getting footage for these videos. Which, by the way, F in the chat, there's no way this video is not getting a copyright strike. Who needs monetization anyways, right? Anywho, though, that was great. That was really good. I just want to run down all the fights, some thoughts on them, and then we'll wrap things up here. Remember, this is the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the grand finals all in one episode. So we'll start off with Quadrant 1 over here, Sawblaze Minotaur. Now this is technically a rematch of the Season 6 opener. And I'll be honest, this was a better version of that fight. The first minute, Sawblaze was just completely dominating Minotaur. Got a snipe on the battery in the back there. Very precision shot there. Minotaur catches on fire. They're looking down for the count, but their weapon's still spinning and they can still move. They get a series of just juicy bites on the big front forks of Sawblaze, throw it up in the air. Apparently, this is per Jameson in the post-fight, the weapon arm and the spinning blade of the weapon were both down somewhere in the middle of the fight, which makes this hit here, woo, you guys realize, if Sawblaze had landed on just the wrong side, if it bounced the other way, they would have been stuck on their back, they would have been counted out, and then Minotaur probably would have died like 10 seconds later. But such is not fate. Sawblaze lands on its feet, scoops up Minotaur, slams against the wall, and by that point in time, the fire is caught up with Minotaur, its weapon's dead, its drive's dead, Sawblaze knockout. Very close fight. I love that back and forth, and that's why I'd say it's probably better than the original fight between the two of these guys. It was really on a knife's edge. Next up, Huge Witch Doctor, and by the way, what did I say in my prediction video? Unlike the other vertical spinners it can theoretically go up against, Witch Doctor is uniquely weak to Huge, because Huge can hit it from the top and hit that rib cage. You see that thing up there? That's its self-righting mechanism, right in the line of sight for Huge's weapon. Huge hits that self-righter, disables it, then hits Witch Doctor another time, throws it on its ass, and then suddenly Witch Doctor can't get back on its feet. Knockout. Okay, well, I was a little wrong about knocking them on their ass, but it was kind of close, though. Definitely right about the ribcage. I mean, just what was Witch Doctor going to do in this fight? Huge was built to beat them, and it did quite handily. I mean, even if they didn't win, just the fact that in the first 10 seconds they sniped the weapon belt right out of Witch Doctor, that was absolute validation for the design right there. Actually, it's very reminiscent of when they did that against Bite Force on its March to the Giant Nut back in 2018. Of course, unfortunately in that fight, Huge had suffered some catastrophic damage from its previous fight against Ice Wave, so right after that hit... Oh well, better luck next year, boys. This was just great. This was just really nice to see Huge do exactly what it was designed to do. Oh, by the way, before we move on here, I should also point out, as far as my predictions go, not that far off overall. I got 6 of the 8 quarterfinalists, so that was pretty good. Next fight, easily the worst fight of the night. Hydra versus Rebot. Look, I understand some people liked the tension, some people liked, the standoff. I personally don't like minute-and-a-half long staring contests in the middle of my robot fight, but that's just me personally. This is everything wrong with the ground game, the fork meta, the idea being that if you can get under an opponent, that's it, you win. Congratulations. It reminds me a lot of some elements of early Robot Wars, where, if you were the robot that could get under the opponent, you would always win. It didn't matter how good Firestorm was, they could never get under Razor, so they lost every engagement. And the forks are kind of the evolution of that because they're even longer, so they don't even allow your weapons to touch. It's really lame. These two bots stood off, Hydra blinked, and then Rebot capitalized. Several nasty chunks on the side. That was at least decent to see. Hydra gets knocked out. It's funny, Jake has mentioned in live streams over the last couple of weeks about how he's kind of keen to retire Hydra, which at first sounds quite bad. Hydra is immense, it's done things no other bot has done, but I think in this fight and several of its others, you can really see why. The bot struggles for mobility. Beyond just the fact it scrapes the floor and constantly gets caught on it, its ground game is its only game. So it kind of has to sit there and wait for you to come to it. If you look at this doesn't look like it's fun to drive. Yeah, it's fun to hit the flipper, that's awesome, but really, would you rather be the robot that's just running around kicking ass, or the robot that's just sitting there waiting for their opponent to come to them? I think I understand what Jake misses here. I mean, even the Son of Oyachi, which is just a giant spinner, is more mobile on average than Hydra is in its fights, so I think I get it. It's a bit unfortunate to see it go, and it's not even confirmed that they're not going to bring back Hydra, but I think I can understand if they didn't. Alright, then our final quarterfinal fight here, Copperhead Riptide. Oh, this is... Oh, this is good. Obviously, the controversy that Ethan couldn't be there catching COVID. And by the way, folks, we are going to have to come to terms with this, that he's going to return next year and is going to be like, well, I don't really feel beaten because I wasn't here for that. We weren't at 100%. You know they're going to say that shit. Make your peace with it. It's going to happen. There is a small chance, I will say, that this team perhaps comes back a bit more humble. Actually, I know that might sound far-fetched or farcical here, but I think they're going to take some of the public reaction to heart a bit. At the very least, I hope that they bring back better leadership, because that's what I think they're missing. I mean, you got someone like Ethan, who's just a young guy, he's basically a college bro dude. I feel like with just a little guidance, he'd be fine. He'd actually be more than manageable. He'd very least know how to keep the public image better, right? This was a great fight, though. This was actually, all the drama aside, a really, really good fight. Copperhead comes into this pretty much the underdog. Less reach, kind of a more compact design, never really gone that far, up 10 seed versus 2nd seed. And yet they completely kicked ass. They looked really good in this fight. Got their ass kicked a little at first, then came back, knocked out the weapon of their opponents, threw them around, out-controlled them, although Riptide did stay in the game, and then Copperhead's wheel popped off, and they were pretty much just stuck gyroing and crab dancing the whole rest of the match. Really close, split decision initially, overturned to the unanimous decision when Team Riptide decided to appeal. Whoops. Ultimately, great win for Copperhead, and not even a bad loss for Riptide. And like I said, expect them to make some serious hay out of this. We weren't at 100%. Alright, moving on to the semifinals. Pretty simple semifinals here. Ribot Sawblaze. Okay, you did have the dance-off for about half a minute there. But thankfully, after that point, you pretty much just get Jameson just doing exactly what he does. Smothered Ribot the entire time. Sniped the batteries yet again. Ribot's on fire. At that point, Ribot's weapon's out. All they can do is just run around like a chicken with their head cut off. This wasn't even close. And then the other side of the bracket, we had Huge versus Copperhead. This was great. This looked really good for Huge. I liked Copperhead's idea of spinning down. For those who don't understand, almost all vertical spinners spin upwards, where they think of it like they hit like an uppercut, right? A punch to the chin of their opponent. The reason why they don't spin down is multifold, but two reasons. One, to punch up allows you to then punch an enemy away. So it's kind of like you're getting like a little mini flip on them too, which lets you then get your weapon back up to speed, and you can then go, chase them down. The other reason is if you spin down, it puts more of that energy of the hit back into your own weapon, back into your own robot, and usually incurs more damages that way. So it was a noble idea to try and break Huge's weapon like that, but I just don't think they got enough weapon-to-weapon hits to really justify it. Huge took out one side of the drive, took out the drum, took out the other side of the drive. Just clinical, beautiful, love to see it. And now we come to, I think maybe my favorite part of the episode outside of the fights, and that's this little, the anti-meta hype train. Basically, in this part of the episode, they're saying, hey, there has been a clear meta in BattleBots, these four-wheeled vertical spinners, but yet look at it now. Our two finalists have not only beaten four-wheeled vertical spinners to get here, but they themselves are very weird and wild designs. And that's great. It's awesome to see the sport evolving, yeehaw, right? That's the hype train. And I don't know, there's just something about that I really appreciated. BattleBots and its commentary has not always been the best. You look at some of the ABC times, it was pretty simplistic in the predictions and what factors they were talking about. Even worse in the Comedy Central era.
11-1 out of the blue corner, where he'll be again.
That literally means nothing. Stop bringing up that stat. But starting with Discovery and really continuing onwards, you see them talking more about tactics and strategies that are actually pertinent, or you even see them talking about certain technical aspects, Tegris wheels, AR-15 armor, AR-500 armor, my apologies. Maybe I'm the one that doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. It's good to see, though, this commentary evolving, and it's really, really nice to see the show talk about something that a lot of fans are talking about and celebrate it as a good thing. You look at this, ultimately speaking, all four of our top semifinalists were vertical spinners in some way, shape, or form. So don't think that this is the end of the vertical spinner necessarily, but they're different, though. Like, to say Sawblaze or Huge are just another vertical spinner is obviously and clearly wrong. They're robots that they don't do the vertical spinner thing. They have different strategies and tactics in battle. They have different strengths and weaknesses. They use their vertical spinners in different ways, and that's exciting. It's good to see changes in the sport being recognized. Actually, funny enough, if we're going to speak meta here, I was literally just working on a video talking about this exact point, the evolution of robot design between America and Britain, and just exploring why these are the way they are. But anyways, that video will be released probably in the next week or so here, so keep an eye out for that. Moving along, though, our grand final, easily one of the best grand finals of all time. Really good, back and forth. Actually, it went to a judge's decision, which is kind of rare for grand finals these days. At first, Sawblade's attachment just looked really stupid, like it was just going to get caught up. But then, they used it to smother Huge, hold them, and take out the weapon chains. Or at least half of them anyways. That was the deciding factor, because after that, Huge couldn't hit as hard anymore. Sawblaze was able to out-control them, and yeah, really, the rest is history at that point. Although Sawblaze took a lot of damage to the front, it was becoming less and less relevant to their overall function and performance towards the end of the fight, whereas Huge, apparently they lost drive on one side, or they were damaged on one side, and then obviously the loss of those weapon belts clearly affected them. So, in terms of control, aggression, and just overall the important damage to the fight, what actually affected bot functionality, you have to give it all to Sawblaze. So, very worthy winner there. Just a great episode. Really one of the best episodes of the show. A lot of people are calling this maybe the best season of the show ever. It's got an argument for that. It's kind of hard to judge something as large as a season. I mean, every season of BattleBots since Discovery has been like 15 to 20 episodes, so it's difficult to judge that aspect. I would definitely say the tournament, so like the top 32 onwards, is probably the best. Mind you, after they set who's in the top 32 and what seed they have, they don't have any control over who fights who, which kind of makes this episode more impressive. The fact that it was almost continuously banger out of banger, 6 out of 7 of them were really good fights, that speaks a lot to the quality of the bots and just the format of the show and its rules and whatnot. In terms of the grand final itself, like I said, it's just nice to see a competitive final again. I should really make a video about why grand finals generally tend to suck, because they do. Very often they're not very good. This one, not the case. In fact, I would dare argue, looking back on it, I mean, this is the best grand final we've had in the BattleBots reboot. This is better than, I think, the 3 Robot Wars' reboot grand finals. This is better than any of the grand finals in the Chinese competitions. I think if you want to find a heavyweight, a televised heavyweight, a grand final that is as comparably good as this, you have to go back to that fight. You literally have to go back to 2002, Razor versus Tornado, in order to find a better title match. Which partially is a condemnation of how normally not very good these fights are, but also I'm saying it's the best one in 20 years, so I think that's still a bit of a compliment. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I mentioned, I will be producing another kind of larger robot combat video. Sometime next week you'll see that come out, as well as alongside a few other videos I have in mind too. So stay tuned for that stuff. I'll see you guys later.